everybody, and welcome back to Read Me a Story. Today we're going to read a really funny story about a moose with a mustache. It's called Moosetache, and it is written by Margie, Palatini, and illustrated by Henry Cole. So come on, why don't you come read a book with me? Moose had a problem, a horrible, hairy, prickly problem. It grew right below his nostrils and just above his upper lip. A mustache. Oh my goodness, look at that. Now, not a few spare hairs or shy little stubble. No mere weak wandering whiskers on the upper lip of this moose. No siree. Moose had a big, bristly, bushy, mighty mustache. But a mustache that was a burly, surly, mangy mess, and it itched a lot. Sure, he plucked, and he tweezed. He even clipped, snipped, and teased. But his combs were still cowards, and his brushes rebelled, and his scissors simply surrendered. Moose was in a frizzy tizzy. The mustache was completely crimping his style. He was a great hoofer, but he could barely bop, and hip-hop with a mustache going flip-flop. He was a wonderful chef, but he simply could not flambe his souffle with all those whiskers in his way. And he was a daring skier, but how could he downhill race with a mighty mustache blowing in his face? Moose had to do something, and soon. But what? After days and days of much serious thought, Moose got an idea. He crossed some hair here, he crossed some hair there, and he tied his mustache around his neck. A moose scarf seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. But then his mustache got knotted and mangled and horribly tangled, and those hundreds of hairs still prickled and tickled. Worse, Moose could barely take a breath with all that mustache wrapped around his neck. So, Moose untied, unwrapped, and unknotted, and he gulped in some fresh air. He got another idea. He parted some hair this way, he parted some hair that way, and he heaped all that mustache on top of his head. Mustachioed antlers seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect, until a squadron of squirrels and one very nosy gopher moved right into the Moose Motel. They huddled and hoarded and furrowed in and burrowed out. Needless to say, it became quite crowded up there on Moose's head, and heavy, and messy, and very, very noisy. The squirrely chitting and chatting, squeals and squawks that woke Moose every morning before the crack of dawn. And that gopher was giving the moose one hairy headache. Moose needed his sleep. He needed his rest. He needed his privacy. Mustachioed antlers, nuts, said Moose. So he unparted and unpiled, untwisted and untwined, and said, "Adios," to the hairy horns. But now what? What? The miserable moose took hold of the hunk of hair and he wrestled it. Then he roped it, he tethered, tied, tamed. Aha! A moose tail. Now, that was so simple. That was so easy. That was not so perfectly perfect. Talk about a dizzy do. Moose didn't know if he was coming or going. Backward, forward, this way, that. He didn't know which end was which. Moose had to bail on the tail. And so he thought, and thought, and thought some more. But no idea was a worthy winner. Braids were a bother, a mustache sweater too sweltering. Net, not. Poor Moose. His problem was truly terrible, unbearable, just downright sad. He felt so alone. He didn't know what else to do. Then call it fate, call it destiny. It was probably dumb luck. But one day, Moose tripped on his moustache and just had no time to duck. Oomph! Pardon me, they both said as they bumped. And then they blinked. And they stared. And their hearts went thumpa thump. She was a moose with a bouffant so bodacious, outrageous, well, it was just plain old big. Hair after hair piled higher than high, a skyscraping dew of glorious curls, a tower of swirling twists and twirls. She was simply splendid, stupendous, absolutely superb. Of course, Moose had to ask how she did what she did to get such a dew. Miss Moose winked, and then she whispered, "It's just a little glue." So, she helped him, fearlessly plunged a hoof into a fat pot of white gooey goop, and carefully, oh so carefully, they glopped, and they plopped, they pasted and they pressed, they coaxed and curled every truly unruly wayward whisker. Around and around they tweaked and twirled those horrible hairs until Moose's once mangy mess was now a wondrous winding wave of marvelous moustache. Moose gazed in the mirror and smiled a broad moosey smile. He was so happy, so glad, so giddy with glee, he looked dashing and handsome. Moose gushed, "Is that really me?" And with not a care for one hair, the moose pair boogied and bopped. They skied downhill, even uphill, and their cooking was hot, hot, hot. So of course it wasn't long after that Moose and his moustache and his beautiful bride foxtrotted and tangoed and waltzed down the aisle. Good hair days, bad hair days, they vowed to love and to cherish, and with hearts heaped with love and pots filled with goop, they both sighed, "I do, glue," and promised to never part. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect, and it stuck. I hope you guys really enjoyed this story. From Moosetache, we learned that sometimes the thing that really drives you the most crazy about yourself can be the thing that you end up loving the most. So, just remember, no matter what's bothering you today, tomorrow it might be a gift. And tomorrow, I hope you enjoy another story with me on Read Me a Story. Thanks for joining me.